I'm gonna when you show your face, I will officially. Oh, there we go. All right, guys, welcome to Beaver Politics: Truth Through Discourse. This is what we do every Thursday night. We're gonna pick a couple of topics to hopefully stick on topic with. We're gonna chat about it, then we're gonna open it up for our panel, and we're gonna let everybody kind of share their piece around the topics that we're discussing. So, welcome to the show. We are officially starting. All right, so I kind of let everybody know that's in here that we're going to be talking about, one, what's going on in the States with Trump and the Aliens Act, and then the second topic is going to be the fact that we know there's going to be an election called, and we have just over a month to really educate the public, because there's definitely some things that the public really, really needs to be educated on. So those are the two topics. I'll let you take it away. Which one you want to start off with?
Let's go with the Aliens Act. Holy, what a time to be alive, hey? And not for everyone.
I can't even believe it's happening. But what I can't believe, I can believe it because it happened before. But the crazy thing about the cognitive dissonance that we're seeing right now is that, when we saw what happened in Germany back in the 30s and the 40s, at least they didn't have encyclopedias at their fingertips where they could read about another Germany and be like, oh, that sounds oddly similar. Maybe this isn't good. But now we have these machines at our fingertips that can give us so much information.
So much.
Again, though, I think maybe we need to focus on the education piece of how to use these things, because that's the piece that's missing. We have these encyclopedias, and for some of us, they're great tools, but for others, they become brainwashing machines. So it's crazy, though, to see that dissonance and to know that we have search engines. It's hard for me to.
Information has been weaponized, right? So information is what you believe now. It isn't actually what's fact. And, a lot of people will be like, Google's for free. Well, you get what you pay for, and you don't get very good information from Google either. One of the things that really stood out to me watching all of these people get arrested was the propaganda videos they were making when they were arresting them.
So the El Salvadorian president, right? Nayib Bukele, right? He's the one that dumped a bunch of money into this, and obviously he did it as a deal with the Trump administration because they knew that a sizzle reel like that would rile up all of those supporters that are like, yeah, deport all the immigrants, and they did it. It was such a Hollywood production, and you could see. It was so obvious that they are just trying to manipulate using this. This is a Hollywood production. Do you not understand the problem with that? And some people that are on that side were just cheering it on and being like, this is the coolest video. This shows how tough we are. And it's just so much. There's so much toxic masculinity just all over that video.
It's got a WWE vibe to it, hey?
Yeah, it is
in a gross way.
Most of us, even that's the thing is most people in the last decade were really waking up to how America and Americanized countries are becoming more and more they were awake to the marketing is what I'm trying to say. People were not people were realizing you're just trying to sell me, you're just trying to buy me, you're just trying to fake it. And we started seeing more of it in Hollywood. We started being more aware and awake that the way that the stories are depicted to us in movies and in commercials are not the truth. They're not real. And they're there to create a certain emotion and feeling to buy us into something. And we were all starting to kind of really wake up to this at one point. And then I don't know what happened. Because now when politicians do it, it's not the same as when corporations do it. Now when they do it, it's somehow real to their supporters.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. Like to the rest of us, we're like, this is an obvious commercial. It's a commercial meant to stir up an emotion, but for them, it's like their identity, and it's something else, and it's really really scary.
It really is wild. I know that there have been reports on some of the people that were arrested and abducted, basically, and put in prisons. They were not arrested with any like factuality, any crimes, anything.
No
It was
criminal
based
records.
on a tattoo. It was
Yep.
based on like some body ink or maybe the neighborhood they lived in. Like there was no actual evidence that these people had done anything or that they were even illegal.
Yep.
And I
I
did
mean, we
hear,
knew.
go ahead.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
I did hear that one person was supposed to be, a lady said her son was supposed to be sent to Venezuela and he was sent to somewhere else. Um,
He was sent to El Salvador.
Thank you. Thank you. It's just, it's unthinkable.
I mean, like we knew it was going to happen. That's why everybody was so freaked out before he even put these people on a plane and sent them. Everybody was freaking out because they were like, if he goes through with this, guys, if he goes through, there's so many videos from so many Americans and independent journalists and ex-military specialists and veterans. And so many people said that, like, if he enacts the Enemies Act and uses
Yeah,
it, the act itself, like it's been, people have been talking about it for a long time, that the act itself is unconstitutional,
absolutely.
and to enact it when you're not even at war, when it's meant to be a wartime act, and then if he did it and ignored the courts on that, then they would know that like it's over.
Yeah. It's pretty worrying, right? Like, and we did warn so many people, but what do people do now? I see people out there
Because
protesting.
yeah, sorry, go ahead. I was just I saw a comment that I was gonna, it fit into what we were talking about, but go
Go
ahead.
ahead,
I'll
answer
keep
it.
it in mind.
Go ahead, answer it actually. I
Eh,
I know what you're going to respond to.
Yeah, why do you care so much about terrorists and gang members? Because we don't know if they were terrorists or gang members because there's no due process, which means they could come after anyone they don't like. Activists, you, anybody that they say is dangerous or gets labeled as a terrorist or a gang member can very easily get sent away
Anybody.
because what he's doing is sending people away for money. It is a profit game. He is literally in the business of selling humans at this point. And if you can't see that, it's because you bought into the sizzle reels and the propaganda that's been fed to you for years on end. But they can come for anybody now. Nobody is safe anymore.
Nope.
If you're in America, it doesn't matter what you believe in. It doesn't matter who you support. You just have to have the wrong tattoo in the wrong place. Who knows? They make that decision now. That's why it is important, because they make that decision now. There
Yeah.
is no due process. Do you know what no due process means?
Kind of like what happened to these people that were
If you
arrested.
are in Canada, you aren't safe from liberals. Cool, bro. Keep pushing that propaganda. I guess you're not safe from me.
Well, apparently Trump likes liberals.
Yeah. Again, that's why obviously they're using this, and he did exactly what Putin did. So again,
Totally.
it's based on how much education do you have. Putin did the same thing. He endorsed Kamala so that everybody would be freaking out and say that like, oh, Kamala is evil. But guess what? Canada's smart, and we learn from the mistakes that our neighbors made. So we're
And
not
you,
buying it. No, especially when this guy, when PP has been endorsed by these guys for a long time beforehand, and now they're switching overnight. Give me a break. Like, come on.
I don't always subscribe to the fact that these people aren't educated. I kind of go to the fact that I think that actually a lot of them could be educated. They just have like a very low moral compass and don't give a crap about anybody else but themselves. I mean, that's hard to believe, but I think that that that's probably where a lot of these people are. To want to have to do these things and see these things happen to other humans. I can't think about anything else. Is that, yeah, maybe they are educated, but maybe they're also pieces of something else.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, I really there's outliers, but when we're speaking in statistical terms, the more highly educated you are, the more empathetic you are.
Yeah. I don't think
I
really
mean,
those statistics apply to this group of individuals.
oh, for sure. But I'm saying that there's so many of them that it's not statistically probable that they're outliers. It's more statistically probable that they just don't have education in certain areas that would help them understand better the situation at hand, right?
Well, they get to find out right away, don't they?
I mean, I think that certain supporters will be there till the very end, the same way that we saw in 1930s Germany. That's not going to change, right? Once you're down that pipeline, if you're down far enough, you're fully in a cult by that point, and it's going to take a lot. But there is going to be a massive number of people to come out for that. It's already happening, right? People are realizing it. There's more and more people that I've been hearing on American Lives say, like, yeah, I voted for him and I don't necessarily regret my vote, but I'm really angry with what he's doing right now and I'm totally not okay with any of it. So like they're starting to come around. They're still not ready to say I regret my vote, which is fine, but they're starting to come around. And I think I forgot where I read this. Sorry, go ahead.
And it's hard for some people to admit when you're wrong, right?
Yeah. There was a really good line, though, that I saw about this. It's like, instead of telling them that they made a mistake, tell them that... I'm going to have to look into that, because it was a really, really good quote about how we should be putting it to these people. That, like, take the blame necessarily. Oh, yes. It's not that you made a mistake. It's that you were lied to. Like, accepting that they were lied to.
They were
so instead of them feeling like, oh, I did something wrong, they realize that something wrong was done to them. Because that's exactly what happened at the end of the day. You were lied
100%. 100%. We've all been manipulated and lied to in a different way. And it's been on a spreadsheet. They were able to track us and figure out what we like and what we don't like on Facebook. They were able to divide us and they've been able to divide us in so many different ways. And they were tricked too. And that's what I say to some of my friends. I like you. You and I are going to go have a drink and have a great time and play bocce this summer together, because you were tricked too, just like me. We're all manipulated.
Yeah. It's hard. We need a whole new, different kind of education that needs to be pushed onto everybody. An education of, like, how do you believe what you believe? Let's start over again. But that'll come with time. Yeah. So, Enemies Act. Please, for the love of God, don't go down to the United States if you're Canadian. Just don't do it. Charlie Angus actually did he came out to do like another public speech today and said the exact same thing. He's like, if you are Canadian, just don't go down there. Don't do it. Don't risk it. Don't do it.
It's not worth it.
If you're going to lose some money because you already booked a trip and now you can't get your money back, just lose it. It's better than losing your life.
That Vancouver lady that was arrested and in prison in the United States just because her passport changed. Just some information that she went to the passport and office to share with them. She was sitting there. All of a sudden she was in a jumpsuit and sleeping on a prison floor. And she said she had it better than most. And that was for 2 weeks.
Yeah, you do not. Hold on, I see one of our viewers here. He says, I'm stuck in the U.S. Why are you stuck? Can we do anything to help?
Bemused. How did you get stuck in the U.S.? Oh,
Yeah, how
you
are you
live
in
in
the
the
US?
US. That's wild. I mean, it's scary. And the thing is, did you see that town hall meeting the other day where one of the citizens stood up and she said, I don't get political, but I cannot believe you guys are you treating people this way? And she said, I can't believe you're treating Canadians. And then out in the crowd came a Canadian flag floating through the audience, and everybody stood up and started clapping, and it was just the most heartwarming thing I've ever seen.
I can't even believe that we're at this stage where it's like now Canada has to be like the fighter for democracy and the leader for democracy in the North American continent and be beside one of the biggest, most dominating countries in the world while it slides into fascism. I mean, just our journey as Canadians having this literally across the border from us is wild and also incredibly scary because we know that ideologies don't care about borders.
It's just wild. I can't believe it. I'm a military brat. You know what I mean? I lived on bases across Canada. We went to the States. That relationship was always very tight and very close. And I'm really, really, really nervous. And you're right, Canada isn't a broken country. When people say that, you know they don't have the best intentions for Canada when they say Canada is broken. These are people that are, yeah, definitely not patriots.
Yeah, some guy actually said escape to US while you can. Yeah, you know what? If you're a cis straight white T man, sure, go escape to the United States because that country is going to only be built for you and you only. So, but anyone else, anyone that doesn't fit into that category, you're all considered minorities. So,
But not your sisters, not your mothers, you know.
don't go down there. Don't go down there. Don't do it.
I mean, it's going to be like, that guy that I think he was from BC or something, and he said he was moving to Russia to have a better life, and then his wife was sending like, "No, this is terrible. They've taken my money. They've taken our rights." Yeah, don't do it.
Did you see that the Trump administration removed the ban for segregated facilities?
They removed it. Yeah.
Yeah, they removed the ban on segregated facilities in federal contracts. So,
I think we can expect that he's going to push the bar on everything. Everything he's
yeah,
going to
so
push back.
the U.S. administration has removed an explicit ban on segregated facilities like waiting rooms, restaurants, and drinking fountains for federal contractors. That was a memo issued by the U.S. General Services Administrations. Memo was issued last month, but media outlets took note of it on Tuesday after a report from NPR. So this was kind of done in the background, and reporters didn't even figure it out until recently.
It'll probably be heavily enforced in those southern spaces.
Oh my God, in the same executive order, Trump revoked executive policies dating back as far as 1965 on equal employment opportunities, environmental actions designed to protect communities of color, and workforce balancing efforts by federal contracts based on race, gender, and religion. The 1965 action aimed to end discriminatory practices in hiring and employment on the part of the U.S. government contractors. Yikes.
It's going to be so bad there. In the South, one of the congressmen, a Republican congressman, is saying that mortgages should go up to about 11 points. 11 points. Can you say hello, Great Recession? Like
It's
90%
not
of
even
people
going to
will
be,
be
it's not going to
unhoused.
be a recession. It's going to be like
Or
a
not a
depression.
depression. Sorry, I can't believe I said that. I meant to say
No,
depression. Yeah,
like people are going to lose everything. People are going
it's
to lose their
wild.
homes. People are going to lose their ability to feed themselves. Like it is going to be
Yep.
so bad. Oh God, we're going to have to be like right there beside them trying to figure out our own stuff. We're going to be okay. If we just make sure that we have a top world renowned economist that can lead us through this, I think we're going to be okay.
I'm scared. My sisters are all in the States, and two of them are Trumpers, and one of them is not. So I'm kind of scared for the one that's not. The other two, I guess you're on your own. I mean, what do you do? I don't know.
I don't know either, but I think that leads us into the next part of our conversation because I think it's a good segue to say
Okay.
that if we're going to be dealing with what we're dealing with down south, how do we want leading us through this most monumental time in Canadian history that we've never ever had to deal with before?
Sunday, Sunday.
I'm going to be brutally honest. I want Carney to lead us through this. He's the one that stands a chance against PP. And I'm sorry, but when you hear the Conservatives talk about their plans are still all centered around America. Like Pierre basically thinks
Yeah.
that the reason that Trump, like in everything that Pierre has said, he's basically said that the reason that we're in this problem, and this is what the Conservatives believe too, right? We're in this problem with Trump because the Liberals were weak. And
100%.
and Trump is just trying to save us. He's just being nice, and he's trying to save us by putting pressure on the Liberal government so
Yeah.
that they can save us from the corrupt Liberals. Right? That's what he said up to the interview that happened 2 or 3 days ago,
Like
where
two
he
or
said that
three
he would
days
rather.
ago, yeah.
Yeah, like exactly right. So he set that up. We know that that's what most people were thinking, right? So all the Conservatives are like, oh, the tariffs are only here because of the Liberals. As soon as the Conservatives take over, they're all big and tough and they're going to be able to deal with Trump, and then that'll just go away and we'll do all of our trade with America, right? That's what they said about the carbon tax on an industry. When we say like we need to have it to be able to trade with the EU, they're like, well, why should we trade with the EU? We got such a good thing going with the States. We should just let the Conservatives win, do everything with the States. And then the premiers, particularly Danielle Smith and Scott Moe and Pierre Poilievre, especially those three, have been talking about how we just need to strengthen our relationship with the United States. We need to make Trump happy because we have the best trade relationship and they just want to cut all the red tape and use all our resources and we'll open it up to make it the greatest economy, blah, blah, blah. We need to get away from trading with the States. We need to get away from doing anything with the United States. And so I want a leader that is world renowned, that has connections across the world, that wants to work with Europe because we are closer to Europe than we ever were to the United States. The only thing that's close to the United States is like entertainment culture and our border that we share making us trade. But when it comes to our history, our backgrounds, we are way more diverse. We have way more newer immigrants as well, like especially from Europe. We have a massive European community in Canada. And most of those people have always felt closer to Europe because that's where they're from a lot of the times, right? And it's more in their recent past because we're always taking in so many new people legally, which is very nice. But the way that our parliamentary system is set up, the way that we try to help people with our public programs, the way that we place, our education system could be better. I'm not going to lie, but
great word to describe Carney is balanced. When I think about Carney, he's balanced. I think he's going to be making decisions across the board that are going to keep Canadians strong and balanced and being able to fight this. I will vote for Carney. I support Carney. I feel very
we don't.
confident.
You're going to vote Liberal because we don't
I'm
want
gonna vote
people to
Liberal,
think that they're voting for their prime minister because that's not the way it works in Canada.
I will be voting Liberal, and I do support Liberal. I think he's honestly the best person for the job right now. At this moment, he's the strongest we've got.
Yeah, that's definitely obviously what I think too. I know that there's going to be a lot of people that are like very, connected to their party, such as NDP or Green Party, and I don't want to say that those are bad parties or anything like that. They're just not. They don't have the highest chance of beating out the Conservatives, and so the strategic way to go for Canada is obviously that, and to have a world-renowned economist that's in the lead is not a bad thing right now. I don't think it is. Call me crazy, I don't know, but like if the alternative is pure Polyev, like no way. Yeah. I mean, the education between them is night and day. Night and day in how they understand economy and world economy.
And we're watching right now as people are beginning to find ways to attack Carney, his family, just different things about him. And I just go back to that conversation or that speech that you went and saw in Vancouver with Adam Kinzinger. And he said to you, this time is going to be hard. We're going to get so much misinformation and disinformation thrown at us. This is just the beginning. So we need to keep our minds strong at this time and not fall into the
Yeah. And so one of the things that I wanted to say before we open it up for the panel, because I think it's about that time, is when it comes to strategic voting. So strategic voting is not necessarily voting Liberal. It is understanding your riding and seeing who has the best chance of beating out the Conservatives in that riding. Okay. Now, I just want to make it really, really clear for a lot of people, because I've been playing around with smartvoting.ca. I've talked to JB about this. I think we actually talked about it last time that he was here. There is a lot of new ridings. So a lot of people don't actually know their riding anymore. But if you go to Elections Canada right now, there's going to be two buttons. It'll be like current riding, and then it'll say riding for 2025 general election. Click on that one and figure out your new riding, because those new ridings are the ones that are reflected onto the smartvoting.ca. And those are the ridings that you're going to be voting for. So I actually had the shocking news today to go on and figure out that I'm not going to say my riding out loud, but it changed. And now there's like a whole other piece of a different city that wasn't in that riding before that's now in that riding. And so this riding historically has been NDP strong throughout. It's always been like kind of NDP versus Conservative. And now when I looked at the new riding with the new map, it's actually Liberals that are in the win. NDP still is super high, but it's not as high as Liberals. And Liberals are actually beating out the Conservatives in that riding. So it almost looks like tiny, tiny little steps are actually very close together, but Liberals are the highest. And that's because they just included now a different area into that riding that wasn't there before, which changed some things. Yeah. So if I didn't go look that up and I just went to go vote, then I wouldn't have known that. And I'm going to keep my eye on it, because it can still change. It can still definitely change. But it's a good thing to keep your eye out on these ridings, understand what your new one is, and then just see how it goes. Because if you are just basing everything off the way that things were in the past, they changed. They changed in the last year. So figure out what your new riding is. I think JB said like 70% of ridings in Canada got like shifted around a little bit. But, you know, I did that with my parents earlier today, too. Their riding shifted. They used to be something else. Now they're part of a much bigger area. And unfortunately, the Conservatives are still most likely going to win in that area, but the Liberals have the highest chance of beating them out.
And in my area, it's if it stands the way it is at the moment, it would be most people would vote NDP ticket, because we don't have a Liberal in our riding at all. So it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out.
Perfect. So you're voting NDP in that riding?
Yep, unless something changes. If something changes, we'll see.
So we want to keep an eye out on that, but I just wanted to let everybody know that a lot of ridings across Canada have changed. You want to know what your new one is, go on Elections Canada, click on what your riding for the general 2025 election will be, and then go check out Smart Voting and see what's predicted for your riding. Please go do that. And remember, strategic voting is not voting for a specific party. It's voting for any party that has a chance to beat out the most evil one. Okay. Let's open up the panel.
I love that. Vote for humanity. I'm super biased. Heidi New Love, I'm super biased. I only vote for humanity.
That's a good bias to have. That's a pretty good bias to have. I think you're doing
I'm
okay.
super biased. I only vote for humanity.
That's a good bias to have. That's a pretty good bias
All
to
right.
have. You're doing okay.
I'm getting massive feedback.
Sorry, that's coming from me.
All right.
You want me to drop?
I'm getting massive feedback.
Sorry,
You might have to drop and then try to come back up because it's really bad. Okay. Whew. Sorry, guys.
It happens. It's a TikTok thing.
It happens. Yeah, it happens.
It's hard on the ears, everyone. TikTok has like the most sensitive mics ever, so it picks up everything. Hey, look who's here. Good evening. Welcome to the Beaver Dam.
Hello, Joe.
G'day.
Hello,
Let's hope I
Joe.
don't get another hate speech flagged again. God.
Sorry?
I got flagged on Johnny's live the other night.
Oh.
For hate speech? Oh, yes, I think I remember.
Hey, how are you?
Not bad, just cooking some dinner.
I should be doing that, but I'm not. My kid's 18 and he wouldn't want. I'm supposed to be doing my meal prep for the week, but I'm putting it off, so.
All right, these are the guests for now. If more people request, I will let them up and then we'll fill up the boxes. But let's get back to the conversation at hand. I'm going to get everybody to follow some simple rules. My rules are please stay muted unless you are talking. Otherwise, it gets a little bit too crazy and too loud. And we're going to try to just see if we can play out a conversation without talking over each other. So when somebody talks, give them like a good 2 full seconds to not hear anything and then try to take your turn to talk. So have a little bit of patience. If that doesn't work, I'm going to start getting people to put their hand down in the comments, and then I will keep track of people that need to speak. But we'll see how it goes. So we're talking about 2 topics tonight. Topic number 1 being all the different ways that Trump is basically undermining the courts and not giving a single flying crap about the Constitution, deporting people without any due process and not even deporting them back to their countries, but deporting them to El Salvadorian prisons so that he can create deals and basically make money off doing this. So that's topic number 1. Topic number 2 is we have an election coming up real soon. And somebody's mic is still not muted. I don't know who that is, but it's pretty loud. I think that might be you, Joe. There we go. And yes, topic number 2 is going to be election coming up soon. Well, how do you feel about it? Do you know your riding? Do you know how you're going to vote? Are you going to get your friends and community involved? What are you going to personally do that can affect positive change in this short time that we have before we go to the polls or before we go and vote? All right, I'm going to start it off with Brotherman, and then we're going to go down the line. So we're going to go Brotherman, Smarshy, Joe, Sasquatch, Tiffany, and Scott. Go for it.
All right, I just want to say thanks for letting me join. This should be an interesting conversation we're having tonight. And first things first, I just want to say when it comes to the election that's coming up in the next month, my biggest fear with the election that's coming up is that, like I understand everything you were saying beforehand. I was listening, and I personally I like Mark Carney, but it's my biggest fear that there's going to be a lot of people that will see him basically as Canada's version of Joe Biden, which I don't agree with, but I can certainly see a lot of conservatives running with that idea just by the just through like his mannerisms. But like it's a scary thought, but I think it's a possibility. So that's just one idea that was thrown out to me, and it's just I think it's a possibility. So but hopefully I'm wrong.
So the people that hated Joe Biden were not the people that would ever vote for Kamala or do the right thing anyway. They were always already. So I mean, even if some people see him as a Joe Biden, it's still the conservatives that would be voting for PP anyway.
Yeah, but it's just my biggest fear that we're going to get like the same overconfidence that the Americans had with Kamala, but we're going to have it with the Liberals here in Canada, right? Like I don't want that to happen, but like I don't want.
Okay, well then that's the message that you got to share, because that's a message I share all the time. Even though I'm like happy to see them leading in the polls, I always say I don't actually care about the polls. The only thing that matters to me is election day. That's the only thing that matters. I don't get excited. I do not get excited about polling at all. I never have, because polling can be wrong. And until I see the result that I'm looking for, I do not get excited. I do not get overly confident. And that's what I'm hoping that most Canadians are thinking in their minds is like, we have a very serious threat. This is not the time to get overly confident. This is the time to go out and vote. And that's one of the messages that we got to push hard.
100% totally agree.
Smarshy.
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Yeah. What's the first topic? The Aliens Act?
The Aliens Act is the first topic. Second topic is elections coming up soon.
Okay, so with the Aliens Act coming in to play, that scares the ever-loving crap out of me, just because I don't know if it's going to affect us at all, but I know the people that are down there, like my family down there, like some of them have already been deported to Guantanamo, and it's hard to explain like how you feel about something like that. So that in itself scares me. I didn't know that it wasn't a wartime, that it couldn't be just enacted during a time of war. It can be acted at any time. And it literally terrifies me that this man is in office, because what are we seeing down every day? I think, okay, he's doing something egregious, can't be that, the next day can't be, and then it's more egregious. And then becomes more and more egregious every day, and I'm shocked all over again. It's like, oh God. I don't know about that. I just can't. I just can't.
It's wild.
Very much so. And voting this year, I don't know who I'm voting for just yet. I'm gonna look at the ridings in my area, and hopefully it's a bigger turnout for the NDP than it is for Conservative, because I've lived in a Conservative riding for the last 30 years. Like, I don't know who to vote for. And it's
just keep checking your riding closer and closer, and try to give whatever you can to the party that's in the lead against them.
Yeah. Okay.
Even if Conservatives are here and like NDP is here, still give it to the NDP if they're higher than the Liberals or the Greens down here. You know what I mean? Because there's areas that we know across Canada that are just like mainly Conservative no matter what happens. There could be like asteroids flying down, and the Conservatives could be like, we sent these asteroids down on you, and they would be like, it's okay, that's just how we're voting. Like it doesn't. Yeah.
Maybe I could get you to help me read the polling, and then I could figure it out from there, because I think that
We can get on the phone and do it together, 100%.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay.
You're welcome. I got you. Joe, welcome to the party.
Yeah, fun party. So
You guys, yeah, I'm having to laugh a little bit these days to like combat the everything else that's going on. So like if you see me laughing, that doesn't mean that I'm happy about what's going on. It means that I'm just trying to keep it a little bit light, so that we all don't cry ourselves to sleep every night.
I totally get that. It's if you're not laughing, you might end up crying, and it's just that slippery slope. And again, I've been doing a couple of videos in the past couple of days now. I was talking about today in regards to both it was a French. So the two stories I did in one video was a French scientist that was trying to go into the States back on March 9th was turned away at the border because they searched his phone and found that he made text messages criticizing Trump.
I heard about that.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's Global News has it, and it's this the key statement that I saw in that really got me sort of on my alert was these messages could be viewed as terrorism. And
Yeah.
I'm like, what? Criticism of a politician. The entire foundation of the American democracy is freedom of speech, so that you're able to see anything without government, without judgment by the government or persecution by the government. And here you are, literally doing the opposite. Now, although it's still a person coming into the country, and again, when it comes to immigration, these people have incredible amount of power, more than I feel they should. And to say this, and then they said he even opened up an FBI case to investigate this under under terrorism, and the case was closed rather immediately because they found nothing. But the fact that they were able to get to this point, which just changed so beautifully to the other two articles that came out today, which was Germany and UK saying that they're now doing full travel warnings to any person going there. And I'm saying it right now, which is expect more of these to come up. I'm sure that these two are the first, but they're not going to be the last one. And I'm wondering when Canada is going to do one, because I remember specifically Faye Johnstone from Momentum and asking the government when the LGBTQ rights were being rolled back, could the government give guidance in regards to travel advisories, at least for the LGBTQ trying to travel to the States? To at least give them a warning, saying this is not a good idea.
I think it's because they're scared, right? They're scared because we're so intertwined. But I mean, Charlie Angus, right? It didn't come straight from the Liberal leadership, but Charlie Angus, again, today talked about, he did a public speech and talked to everybody about do not go there. Do not go there. This is super serious. Don't go there. Right? And he's still an MP, so that is our government telling us not to go there. Yeah.
He's NDP, so he's not in the majority government, but still
I know.
Still significant, and it's a agree or disagree with Charlie Angus, whether it be political views, whatnot. The messaging is still quite important. Like, this is not a safe country anymore. This being the United States.
I know. It's
This quotes me.
Yeah. But hey, if you're a Yahtzee, then that's going to be the perfect place for you to move. Just saying.
I will pay for those guys. I will pay for their tickets.
Yep. If you like what's going on down there, and if you want to be part of that, like, I'm okay to help pay tickets. Like, I think we should just do a giant crowdfunding and like fund all the Yahtzees that want to leave Canada. Like, we will crowdfund that shit. We will pay. Just go down there and leave, and like we're good.
Tickets for Trumpers. There we go. Got a name for it. Tickets for Trumpers.
Can over the 49 parallel?
Can
we just use them over the 49 parallel and making it all on their own?
Let's just be nice and peaceful. We'll crowdfund it. We'll pay for them to leave. It's fine. Let's send them off in a nice.
But I had a whole catapults for crystal fascists. We can put them into little seats and then we launch them.
Yeah.
Nah, let's keep ourselves a peaceful, nice country because they're gonna have their own fun down there.
I wanted to catapult.
Let's just we can catapult when it comes time to catapulting, but until we have a choice. Right now we still have a choice to be nice. Let's take the choice to be nice.
But I don't want to.
Fine.
Nice
All right, Sasquatch. Sasquatch.
You know what we could do if we're feeling a little bit more kind. Maybe we could turn on that invisible tap and make a water slide. Like that sounds kind of festive. Maybe we could just give them all a little. I mean, it could be kind of fun.
We'll buy them tubes. We'll buy them like tubes to go down the water slide with.
Totally, I'm here for it. I was gonna speak on. We're talking a lot about the for-profit prison system. Profiting from, detaining immigrants. But my concern too is I've been saying this for months now, is that, sorry. So my thing I wanted to jump up and talk about with the whole immigrant situation down in the States there is that, one, I'm very concerned about people starting to be detained because there's also huge profit to be made in the U.S. prison system from detaining people. It's been widely, openly talked about. I've seen it multiple times on this app alone. But not just that, but, we're all aware of prison labor and how rampant that is in the U.S. So, between not only are they going to detain these people and disrupt that supply chain enormously, and it's already, I don't know what the situation is. I don't see it as much now with farmers being afraid to go to work on the farms. I'm not super informed on that anymore. But that's going to be a huge supply chain disruption. That is going to absolutely skyrocket prices. Absolutely skyrocket prices. And then when those people go back as prison labor, we're not going to see those prices come down at all. Even when they go from $8 an hour to 80 cents an hour. We are not going to see prices go down from there. Luckily, I'm in BC, so I'm a little bit spoilt. We've got some pretty decent agriculture and kind of down more like the Nicola Valley, kind of that area down in the lower mainland, Abbotsford and stuff. We've got some farming here, but it's not just about me or what I pay for produce. It's about other human beings. I've got friends in the States that own iguanas, and they're going to be hurting because a lot of those leafy greens, like collard greens, take a lot of heat and a lot of water, and they're not able to grow it where they live. It's going to be huge disruption for them and their animals. So I'm just very concerned about seeing the effect on the labor force and it being used kind of like how COVID was used in our monopoly with our groceries and the way that we consume as consumers. And it's going to hide a ton of greed. It's going to hide a ton of, inflation is going up as we speak as well. That doesn't help. Fuel prices are going up. That's going to make it all go up. So, at what point do we dig through and see what's justified and what is just insane greed? Because we know here, prices have continued, especially on meat. Meat has continued to go up. For me, a pack of chicken was like 21, 22 bucks at the end of COVID. Well, now it's 27, 30, 32. I even seen for a pack of chicken breast the other day. I was like, Save-On is spicy. Save-On is very, very spicy, but luckily I've got a co-op here. But really, what do you choose, Jimmy Pattison or Galen Weston? It's like, which billionaire do you go and support? And not everybody even has that. It's like Walmart. Superstore in the nearest town. Not everybody's got the option. So I don't know. I'm very concerned about what this whole immigration thing is going to look like for detaining people, even just in the US, because they can do it on a massive level to be able to deport people, detain them elsewhere. But the ability to detain people in the United States is massive. Really massive. And I'm sure the infrastructure could go up pretty damn quick. And who knows, they might use prison labor to build those prisons and it'll be real fast and real cheap. So I'm pretty sad for that down there. That's going to be basically making legal slavery, and just basically spreading it from what it already is.
Yeah, it's really scary because I mean this has been something that the States has done for a long time. Right? It's not like now it's going to be ramped up like crazy. But specifically Republican presidents have always pushed for jailing more people more easily because they make so much money. They have incentives, right? Like policemen's, cops there have incentives for how many people to arrest and potentially throw in jail because it's a massive industry, a super profitable industry. I was trying to look up some of the stats here, and I actually fell upon like the actual prison policy. So for people that want to read through this and actually get more educated on it, you can go to prisonpolicy.org and read up about the United States policies when it comes to prisons. And it's intensive. There's so much information, and it'll be a giant wake-up call. So, but yeah, it is going to get a lot worse, right? That was, I think, a big part of also getting rid of the list of bad cops so that they can just hire more cops to be everywhere. Tiffany.
Hey. What were the topics again? Sorry, I was distracted with making dinner.
Topics were what's going on in the States, specifically like with the Alien Act and how they can basically deport anybody now without any due process whatsoever. You're never going to know. And the fact that the whole world is kind of speaking up and saying it is not safe to travel to the United States anymore. The news that's come out that some of the people that were sent to El Salvador were people that had no criminal record in the United States, and they literally got sent there for a tattoo. That's the first topic. Second topic was elections coming up soon.
Okay, first
Our
topic.
election is coming up real soon. So you choose what you want to talk about.
First topic, I have been talking a lot with my American friends about this for quite some time. The scary part is the detaining. It obviously scary. We don't even need to discuss that. The thing that makes it even more scary is no due process is happening, which means anybody can be taken for absolutely no reason, and it gives 1933 Germany all over again. That's all I really have to say. It gives Dachau. That's like there's nothing else to say. Like that is it. I've been saying for several months now since Trump was crowned that it's not safe for anybody to travel to the States, let alone Canadians. It's like, to me, the minute he started making open threats, that was pretty much it for me. I didn't see any reason or way that it would be safe for us to go across the border, because I'm like, all it's going to take is for them to decide that they can just start pulling people aside. And that's it. You're not going to get a visitation from the consulate. You're not going to get your phone call. You're not going to get any of these things. And the fact that I think the U.S. has some of the, like, I think they're number one for prison per capita, I think, in the world.
Yep.
So, like, I'm like, I have been saying for a while, I'm like, how they're going to make up for any labor loss for farming is they're just going to start using prison workers who they don't have to pay. And that's how they're going to make everything work, so that the rich get richer, the poor get desperate. And I feel so helpless sometimes to help, because legally, as a Canadian, there's only so much that we can say or do to help our American friends. I know I had somebody today share a message with me, and I'm going to post it. I'm going to create a post, and it was a bunch of information to share with people in the States who maybe have green cards and stuff, documents they should hold at all times, things they should do if they're children were born in the US, but they weren't, like a whole list. Things that I can't believe we're even having to have this discussion for for any reason. We should not be having this discussion, but I'm like, I want to give people access because I'm like, giving people one little thing to do is at least going to make sure that they feel somewhat empowered. Because I'm like, I feel like Trump's trying to make sure that all of us feel powerless to do anything. And so the minute we finally do feel powerless and we've lost our hope, we've lost completely. And so I'm trying to figure out small little things that each and every one of us can do to help support those in the States, those in Canada, those abroad, so that we can all try to, I hate to use the word survive this, but I really unfortunately don't have any other words than that. And I went on yesterday to voting the website, and I found out what the Liberals are the closest to winning in my old riding. So I'm going to assume it's pretty much probably going to be about the same in this riding because it's same sort of borders. So I'm excited about that. It'll be my first time voting Liberal ever. I was always, for the longest time, a Green supporter and then an NDP supporter. I still love Elizabeth May with all of my essence and being because she doesn't mess around. I would love to see her in the Oval Office with President Trump and Elon Musk. It would just be that I videotaped because I need to see it because it would just bring me so much joy. Like it really would just bring me so much joy.
Yeah, they should do a skit.
Yes,
they should do like a comedy skit of what that would look like. Yeah, with Charlie Angus and Elizabeth May in the Oval Office with Elon and Trump and Vance. I would pay money to see that.
Me too. It's so fabulous. Like I cannot imagine the comedy sketch you could go anywhere with that. Like literally anywhere. It would be great. But yeah, I'm genuinely worried. Like I'm been telling my American friends to start really watching things, make plan. I have a girlfriend who has a daughter, she's divorced, and I said, you need to talk to your partner about the fact that there may come a time where it will no longer be safe to remain in the US and what your plans are with your ex for your child if that ever does come to pass. Not to scare anybody, but to make plans so that if you ever had to, my door is always open. You just have to send me a text message and let me know what time you're going to be here and I'll have everything ready. But I'm like, this is unfortunately reality. You're going to have a convo. It's a sad thing to have to explain to people. And
but it's the reality.
It's unfortunately a reality. People can think we're fear-mongering, but we're trying to prepare people for worst-case scenarios. We all hope for that.
I'm not even trying to I'm not even saying that oh, I'm trying to prepare you for you're already in that scenario, babe. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, but Americans, you're already there. You're there, whether you like to admit it or not. That's where you are right now, and some of you are going to be safer than others because obvious reasons. But it's happening. It's fully happening. It's an extreme parallel to exactly what was happening in around 1934, 1935. Trump's doing it with a bigger speed.
Yes. Oh yes, he is.
So I'm not I don't like to ever say that I'm not trying to scare people or fear mongering. I'm just giving them the reality of what is actually happening. And if people think that the reality is scary and that I'm fear mongering because the reality is too scary, that's a them problem at that point. Because unfortunately, this is where we're at. If a giant meteor was coming down to hit the earth and I said, hey, look, there's a giant meteor coming down. I'm not fear mongering. I'm pointing out the giant meteor. You know what I mean? So we need to be at that level of being able to be realistic about what's happening here. I think that's a big problem, right? The people don't want to face it because it is so uncomfortable. But that's how people and humans evolve, is by going through periods of being uncomfortable.
And Tiffany, your friend might want to rethink just telling somebody before she's leaving, and she might have to leave and text him later and make a plan.
The problem is
safe.
Crossing international borders with a child without legal, when you're divorced, taking a child away from the other parents without legal documentation, saying that the other parent has given permission for that child to travel abroad. I don't know any international border that's going to let you across. They'll stop you right then and there because it's considered kidnapping.
Yeah.
And that's why I said, that's why I had said her situation, it's, I'd say unique, but there's a lot of people who are separated or divorced and have children. But these are conversations you need to have. You need to have legal documentation in place with your ex that says, hey, I have permission to take this child somewhere. And then making sure that that's an open dialogue. I know it's going to be uncomfortable for people, and not everybody gets along with their ex, and not everybody loves their ex, but like, this is your child. If you have to go, you have to go.
You need the signature. You need the signature. You need the approval. You need to be able to have border services call that person just in case and say, like, do you actually approve of this? I have your signature right here. Is this real? Etc. There's so many different ways that it could go, but you have to be fully prepared and have the permission of the other person.
Yeah. In her case, it's a very unique circumstance. If it was anyone else, and it's a different story. But when you have separated parents and a child, it becomes a whole nother ballgame. If it was just her, I would have told her to get her butt up here like now.
Right.
Don't wait. But when you have a child with an ex-husband, it becomes a whole nother legal ballgame. Unfortunately.
Can I just say something about the immigration? What Tiffany's saying, real quick.
Okay, and then we'll go to Scott and Zen after that.
Yeah. Tell your friend if she's gonna look for refugee. If anyone in your American friends are looking for refugee, tell them to mention that their life is in danger. Don't mention your country, because right now Canada doesn't recognize the United States as a war-torn country. And I think it was last year, I was looking into it, there were 600 cases of refugee status applied for. Only 2 cases got approved. And once you've been denied for refugee status, you can never do it again. So make sure they reference that their life is in danger, and that they don't mention their country. Just say, I need to get out of where I'm living, because if you apply for refugee status and you get denied, you're never, it's the same with asylum. You're never allowed to apply for refugee, and they will send you back to the country where you live in. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. That's really great information to have. I will definitely share that with her and with others, because I think it's a very important thing for them to understand. Because the last thing you want is to try and help other people survive this situation, only to give them not enough information to be able to effectively get out. So thank you, Smarshi. I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
All right, Scott.
Hi, everyone. I watched Charlie's recent YouTube video, and he makes a lot of sense. So a lot of people just in our country, make sure, it's not so much for older people because we're more stable, but the younger you are, make sure that the information that you have is up to date. Don't go, make sure, like younger people that are maybe transitioning between, residents more often, that could be enough to take something away or lock you up for a while. As for what we're doing for the one of the things also you got to be aware of with all this chaos, that they understand what they're doing. Make sure that if you have any investments, make sure that you look at them and think whether or not you can lose any gains that you have, and whether or not, because if you lose a lot, if the market crash, can you afford to wait 10 years to gain it back? Because that's usually what the average is. So make sure anybody that is relying on their investments for retirement, make sure you advise the people to take a look at it and be more conservative in their investment portfolios. If RSPs, mutual funds, anything like that. Because there's a lot of places in the States that some of the things, like Nebraska is looking at going broke. And different places around there. There's a lot of different things that are happening, including with the different stocks. Tesla's going down. So there's a bigger chance of us going into a recession more so. So keep an eye on those things for yourself. So when we're looking at the election coming up, who's going to be better to help us navigate through this? I'm still leaning with Carney over this. He's got the experience. That's what we need at this time.
I agree. And yeah, my parents are kind of crushed right now because they had so much invested in U.S. stock, and their investments took a giant hit over the last couple of weeks. And unfortunately, my mom is retired, and now she's looking for a job again because she just wants to feel safe, and she doesn't feel safe right now with the way that things are going. So, and me and my dad are both obviously trying to tell her, like, please don't get a job again, and she's adamant on getting a job again. So here we go. Yeah, my mom's always been a crazy hard worker, but I'm honestly scared for her health. Like, she's 67 years old, and I don't want to see her go back to work, but she's adamant on doing it now. So gotta let everybody do what makes them happy. My dad's retired, but he still works part-time as a university professor. So but it's still part-time. But he's, I wish my mom could find something like that, but she wants to take on a full-time job again. So, Zen, how's it going?
Hi, everybody. Scott, good points. Thank you for pointing those things out. I have a question. I don't think it's right on topic. I'm sorry, I'm late tonight coming in, but I'm actually curious as to what Joe might think about this. This whole thing with Trump. Sorry, I'm losing words here. Agreeing with going for the Liberals for Carney, and I'm curious as to why all of a sudden, because we know he backs PP. I want to say that I'm worried that he's trying to push for a split vote, and that we'll get more conservative seats that way because the numbers are so high right now for the Liberals.
I think Frontline said it just now in the best. Exactly that. It's just a game that he's trying to play.
It's just a game. Putin did the exact same thing when he endorsed Kamala. And
Right.
look who's benefiting, right? Like, he's benefiting off Trump because that's who he wanted there. The same way that Trump is going to benefit from PP if PP's there. And you can tell by their policies. PP constantly talks about how we just need to make a better relationship with the United States. We just need to do what Donald Trump wants, and then because that's our best trade, that's where we need to trade all our money and make all our money. That's how we keep our economy strong. Whereas you have pretty much every other party in Canada saying, no, we need to diversify our trade and get away from the United States and become a lot more self-sufficient. And I know PP pushes the whole self-sufficiency thing as well. But if you look at their policies on trade, and if you've listened to what he's been talking about in terms of trade, he just is still stuck on the fact that we need to trade with the United States because we don't need an industrial carbon tax to trade with the United States. And he wants to cut the industrial carbon tax. And if he does, and if we do trade with Europe and a lot of other parts of the world, they're going to slap us some really big taxes and penalties for not having carbon pricing, or they're going to place their own tariffs on Canada, and which is going to make our exporting to those places less, and it's still going to hurt our economy. So people that don't know economy will say that PP's got good ideas, but realistically, we need to get away from the US, and the only people that are saying that is anybody outside of the Conservative Party. So it's a bait and switch. What Trump is doing is 110% bait and switch. Guaranteed. He got a phone call and somebody told him, like, hey, just say you want to work with the Liberals. It's going to be really good for getting PP elected. That's it. That's as far as that goes.
And I think as you were mentioning it, there's one other thing too. as you were discussing it, and explain, because it's true. If we drop our carbon tax, then the Paris Accords kick in, and then we get tariffed by every other nation. If Polyev wins in regards to not just becoming prime minister, but also able to drop the carbon taxes and get those more deals with the United States, he will lock us into a U.S. deal, because nobody else will be able to trade with us, because they're all going to have tariffs because of the lack of carbon tax. He's going to screw us over.
100%, 100%. Everything that Joe said, yes. He is dangerous for our economy, because he is going to intermingle our economy with U.S. so strongly that we're not going to be able to get out of it. And then that'll make it even easier for us to become the 51st state.
Especially if he locks us out of the rest of the world because of the removal of carbon tax or any carbon or climate incentive program, we will be forced to go to the only place, and that's the U.S. We're going to be stuck. Angry cars here.
I live on a main road.
Explains it.
The only good government is a non-existing one, and the only honest politicians are deceased. Okay. Thank you, Drone Visions, for your philosophical take on life. We appreciate it. All right.
Did they read that from a fortune cookie?
All right. Well, everybody gave their opinion on one of the two topics. So let's go back to the question that I asked first and see if anybody has an answer to give for it. Because I think it's super important that we get involved as a community and do whatever we can so that we can avoid what's happening in the States, right? Everybody on the panel agrees. One big happy echo chamber.
Yep.
Sorry, I have to add that in there just so I can take a little stabby stab here and there. I want to know what each one of you is going to personally do in their own lives, and don't feel pressured to give any like grand action or anything. Just what are you going to personally do over the next month, knowing that we're going to be going to the voting booth in literally a month and a couple of days from now, most likely. What can you do over the next 30-something days to be a positive beacon of light in this election period? I don't know. That's what I mean. Are you going to educate? Are you going to talk to your friends and family? Are you going to knock on your neighbors' doors? Are you going to get involved with any specific party and do campaigning for? What are you going to do? Miss Radical, we're going to start with you, and then we're going to go through the list like this.
I think we're having a meeting right away with Beaver Politics, and it's going to look a lot like what we did for the Doug Ford campaign or anything outside the box like that. We are going to pump the shit out of voting. Vote, 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 vote. That's my plan.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, I'm sure that us as the Beavers are gonna put together a fun plan. Excited for our Sunday meeting. Okay.
Actually, I just want to say one more thing. Sorry. Another thing we did in our community is we got out there, and we don't have a Liberal running, and I'm at meetings every night this week with our Liberal branch trying to find someone or figuring out if maybe we're just going to go with a strategic vote, and that's okay too. But we're getting out there. We're having these conversations. The Liberal Party is growing. All of our rosters have grown. If you don't have somebody, it's time to have these conversations immediately in your community. It might get a little uncomfortable. Politics is a blood sport, but let's get it done. Sorry.
I don't like that. Sorry. I always try to tell conservatives that we're not playing a team sport. So I don't look at it that way. It doesn't need to be a blood sport. It needs to be an education an education effort and a community effort. But I don't like thinking of it as was that. I don't want to. Yeah. just
Honestly, this year for me, it's a blood sport. This is a very, very important election, unlike no other. And I know people say that about other elections, but this time it really is. It's the real thing,
it's
and it's
definitely one of the
very
most important.
important.
I would
Yeah,
say it's probably the most important election in
I think
Canadian
so.
that will be talked about in Canadian history. But I just try to keep the more peaceful vibe. Think that down deep to myself.
I'm radical though. That's who I am.
Fair, living by the name. All right, Brotherman, what are you going to do personally in your life?
Well, usually I always try to, surround myself with like-minded individuals. It's one of the main reasons why I love taking part in these panels here. Like I've probably taken part in this is probably my fifth or sixth time, and truth be told, is something that I honestly love doing, right? And when I'm not around like-minded individuals, I always try to use, like teach them ways how they could personally better themselves by learning that what they knew from, years ago was a mistake, right? And just because you made a mistake before, is something that you could easily learn from, right? Like you got to start teaching people that just because they were wrong in the past doesn't mean that they're going to be wrong forever, right? You got to start, like teaching people how to think better and more positively for a more highly, better future for everyone, right? So what am I going to do in this next month until election? I'm basically going to try to educate people as much as possible that, hey, yeah, this election is going to be, probably it definitely is going to be the most influential election of our lifetime, of this generation. So, I'm probably just going to use it, to just teach people as best as I can, right? So, yeah.
That's what we like to hear. Sparshy.
I'm going to get my Indigenous community involved with the correct voting. I'm not going to shame them if they don't want to vote anything other than conservative. That's up to them. I'm just going to give them the information and hope for the best. I'm also preparing for the worst because we don't know what the election's going to hold. And I can't say with my whole chest that it's going to be a liberal because, like you said, I don't want to collect all my eggs in one basket or count them before they hatch, right? So my thing is get my Indigenous community involved and talk with them and hopefully make some headway. And if not, then we're just gonna make bug out bags and like get everything we need to survive and head to the fucking woods because it's gonna get ugly if it already isn't now. So that's my choice.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing. Joe.
I don't quite know what I'm going to do yet. I'm definitely going to continue doing what I'm currently doing, which is trying to make as much information as possible. I'm looking in regards to mostly, I guess, out of concern and some paranoia that, like, my fears of what I thought was going to happen about 10 years ago is possibly now more than ever going to happen now in regards to the Americans trying to cross the border. Um, but I'm going to keep reminding people right now that, like, don't go to the States. This is not the great place. And we need to also highlight that, yeah, we need to highlight that if we do consider this, we're not going to be the we're not going to be the 51st state. Even if they take us, we're still not going to be the 51st state. We are going to be the next territory. And anytime anybody thinks it could be the other way around. So get more information out. Obviously, talk to the people around me. Most of the community, obviously, that's around me immediately tends to be like-minded as myself. Try not to make too many friends with conservatives because they're asshats. Just the way they are.
Good plan.
And
Good plan.
yeah, exactly. But also see if I can reach out to those who are just really, truly undecided and hopefully at least get a few people who don't want to vote to actually just to vote. Just to make a
Yep, I hear
difference.
you.
Indeed.
Sasquatch. Thank
Well,
you, Joe.
You're welcome.
well, I'm pretty lucky that I've got some pretty active voters around, and I'm very grateful that a lot of them are NDP. Um, my sister's more liberal. She's in Alberta, so she can do her thing. But I'm pretty lucky that everyone around me is like very active and very aware right now. One person that I was able to change, not in just the last little while, but probably quite a few years ago. Oh, hang on,
You guys, like
I'll
frontline mute.
Yeah, I'm trying. Sorry, I walked away without muting, and I was going to only take 2 seconds. I was just putting something back in the fridge. We're good. We're good.
But one person I was able to kind of convert from conservatism was my maternal grandfather, and he is a very old school conservative. He believes in fiscal conservatism, all that good stuff, which I've got no problem with. And he was dead set against NDP. Absolutely. I don't really know why. He wouldn't really explain why. And I kind of sat down and talked with him and explained my stance on NDP. And he has his wife now, my grandmother passed away. His wife has First Nations children. And sitting down and talking with him about modern conservatism and explaining racism and a lack of diversity, that was kind of the first open eyes. And then explaining to him my position as a young person, that conservatism, well, one, as a woman that's had an abortion, and he's a churchgoer, and was he comfortable in that conversation? No. But I said, would it not be more fiscally conservative for me to get my abortion and be back at work the next day and continue working and continue upgrading as a blue collar worker and paying more taxes, paying for your health care, as you probably outlive me by about 20 years, God bless your heart. But, it was kind of these conversations slowly over time. And I think it really opened his eyes. And is it just one vote? Yes. But is it a person that like I deeply respect and I don't want to see them kind of put their foot in their mouth and look ignorant? Absolutely. Because I greatly respect that man. He's helped me probably more than anyone else in my life. Right. So that was my little good deed. But I mean, other than that, everyone around me kind of votes NDP, and the ones that vote conservative are kind of boomers in my small town. They are guys that have worked blue collar jobs their whole life. Their wife was stay at home moms. They're so deeply entrenched in that conservative traditionalism that there's no talking with them. I'll talk back and argue with them, especially after a couple of drinks. I'll fight with them, but there's not a lot I can do about that. But that's all I can do is kind of keep having these conversations. And I'm really, really lucky that it's very left leaning around me, very left leaning, even though I am surrounded by a lot of older folks and a lot of blue collar people. Like when I talk to people on the job site, it's a lot of liberal and some NDP, and even a few Green Party, even some operators are going green. I'm like, hey, right on. I'm not going to complain. So I'm very lucky that I don't have a lot of work to do. I try and jump in these lives and push back on propaganda and correct people when they're wrong, and that's about where I sit. I'm kind of useless at this point, just enjoying the NDP in BC. And I don't know, I'm not 100% sold on liberal, because I'll say it from the rooftops, they are not tough enough on the oligarchy. And yes, Carney is a very educated man, but it doesn't matter how much of a weapon you've got. If you've got a big piece of iron, a big piece of equipment, if you don't know how to run it the right way, sure, he might get the job done faster, but then we turn around and it wasn't graded right, and that water's going to go back down the slope and wash everything out. We're doing it again. So I'm just hoping to see what Carney is going to do with his economic abilities. And I'm really hoping that, I've heard tax the rich. I think the industrial carbon tax is such a good start. Such a good start. It's what makes sense in our country on many, many levels, right? But I want to see that NDP spirit, especially Jagmeet. I know we're not a fan of him right now, but I really want to see a take that is permanent, and it's going to be sweeping and on a federal level of tackling this stupid oligarchy. And if we tackle the oligarchy here, that's going to vastly change the type of trade partners that we have. And hopefully that introduces some more ethical trade. It might hurt us a little bit, but I don't care. I'll take a hit to the GDP as long as it means that like Canadians can afford to live and we're not all just being crushed in the anthill here, because I'm sick of it. That's my biggest thing, is that once we have our human rights settled and we've got, corruption settled, well, people still need to be able to live. And we're gonna come out of all this, out of the dust settling, and we still need to be able to afford to live. And if we don't tackle this oligarchy, that is not going to happen, and we're gonna all be sitting here broke and powerless and not able to do much and just trying to feed ourselves and our families. And I don't think that's a very powerful resistance if we're all, peasants in the field struggling to live. So that's my thoughts on it.
All right. Thank you, Tiffany.
Hey, well, I was already chatting with a girlfriend and we're going to go do some door knocking for the Liberals. I'm, as always, going to educate because I think that's kind of one of the best things that we can do is try to educate more people, because I think a lot of people I firmly believe a lot of them are just really busy in their life and they don't have the time to necessarily keep up on a lot of things. I think a lot of people are very unaware. And so I think education combined with door knocking and creating relationships and community, I think is going to be where I'm going to focus my energies. Because I think given that Mark Carney grew up in Edmonton, I think I think this is the first time the Liberals have a chance to take back some of those old seats they used to hold for so long. And Gust, despite what you seem to think, Liberals used to have some very stronghold seats in Edmonton. I know, I was born and raised here. Yes, the NDP's had Strathcona riding for a very, very long time, but there was a lot of seats here that were held Liberal stronghold, and I remember the shock on some people's face when they flipped to Conservatives. So I have full confidence that Edmontonians can. I think this is a city that can definitely take quite a few red seats if we get out there and talk to people, find out what's important to them. And I think that would be how any one of these parties, if they really want to make an impact and really want to secure their seats, they need to start talking to the people and see what people want, what people need, what's important to them. Liberals, yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see if the Liberals don't win anything. I'm going to be celebrating with a glass of champagne when they do, and thinking of you guys who all thought that it wasn't possible in Alberta, because it's totally possible. You guys clearly have not looked at history, and it wasn't that long ago, to be honest. So I'm excited. We're going to do some door knocking, and who knows? I should check to see if they do have a Liberal candidate in my riding, actually. I'm not sure if they do yet. That's a good question. I'm going to check tomorrow.
Yeah, look it up.
Yeah, Alberta suffered in the last 10 years because of the UCP party, not because of the Liberal government in power. Your everyday life is mostly run by your provincial party. You got a problem with your everyday life? Call your MLA.
I can't call my MLA because he works for the UCP.
Mine does too. I know it's...
Bug them though. Be annoying. Be annoying. That's what politicians respond to. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter, right? We have to hold all of our politicians accountable and responsible for what they choose to do. And sometimes that means being super annoying and calling them every day and leaving 300 messages and just, it takes a lot of people. I think that's one of the big things that we need to educate and we need to teach people how to hold their elected representatives responsible, because we don't do that. We point the finger at the federal government. We go, they're the problem. And we never actually do anything about our local representatives. We don't talk to them. We don't email them. We don't call them. We don't get annoying. And that needs to change, because
100%.
if people in the United States did that, they wouldn't have gotten to where they did. And we do have a very similar problem. Most people in Canada do not understand how our own government system works. They don't. People really genuinely have no idea how our system works. And if people understood how the system works and they understood why it's so important that we hold them accountable, we hold them responsible, and we actually try to be in their town halls and in discussions with them, that's how we get things done. That's how we move things. That's how we evolve, right? So
100%. I call Danielle Smith's office every week to ask her to resign and take LaGrange with her. Every single week.
Good.
5 minutes. Every week I call and complain. Every week I explain all the terrible things that I feel she's doing the embarrassment that she is being for Albertans, the embarrassment she's being for all Canadians, like just all of the things that I'm like, I watch her do, and it takes a 5-minute call. I encourage every single person who lives in Alberta who's not happy with her leadership to do it. And I every time I say, please take LaGrange with you, please. She hasn't been good in any role. She's terrible. Take her with you. She can be your buddy. We don't let kids walk down the halls by themselves. You take your partner with you.
She can go to
I
jail with
encourage
her.
everybody to do this. If you hate the party that's in, you happen to live.
Tiffany,
Yes.
they should be in handcuffs together. They would look good in matching bracelets.
Oh, they would look absolutely gorgeous like that. Absolutely. But you know what? I would be just happy if they both just went away quietly too. Like I'm quite content if they just go. Just but I do. I've called the finance minister for the party, all sorts of different offices because unfortunately provincially I live in an NDP riding. So as much as I love my NDP person and she is just fabulous, I also am very well aware in a two-party system they don't hold a lot of power and weight in the House. The only thing they can do is bring forward our concerns. So I'm like, I'm going to annoy the Premier then. She's going to get all my calls.
I'm just trying to
Remember,
imagine the poor person that has to go through those voicemails.
Every time I've called, I've gotten a person. So I will give Danielle Smith's office one thing. I have talked to a human being every single time. So that's why I said, call everybody. Call. They're nice. I've never had any of them be mean. Although I did have one of them try to gaslight me into saying that we as Canada can't stand up to the giant that is America. And I gave them a nice education on the phone about how they were incorrect. Because I'm like, you're not spreading propaganda. Yeah, I'm not allowing people to spread propaganda. That is not okay. And especially from a government level. No, we're not doing this. So yeah, I encourage everybody, if you really dislike what's going on in your day-to-day life, start calling your provincial party leader if you happen to live in the other party that doesn't really have as much power. Start calling your premier. That's what they're there for. Call the health minister federally if you don't think that they're doing enough about protecting our healthcare rights. Like, start calling or sending an email. Do it on your coffee break if you have time. Like, or if you don't have time till the evening, leave a voicemail. But call. The more annoying we are, can you imagine if Danielle Smith got 1 million calls every day from the people of Alberta about how angry? How long do you think it would take before she'd have no choice but to step down? Or if other people in the party were receiving calls every day?
But to be honest, I probably would go to jail if I called her because I would have a few words to say. So I think it's best left to an email.
Might be. Then you can edit it several times before hitting send. But yeah, just calling, writing. Because if they're getting hundreds of thousands, even if it's not the premier, but other MPs and MLAs are getting emails saying, hey, this is not okay. No, I don't want this. At some point, somebody in the party is going to ask for a change, and we will get it. You just have to be annoying. There's my soapbox rant. Thanks for that.
That was a good rant. Scott.
Hey. Okay, so what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to do some. I've met my nominee. He was a member of Parliament at one time, and now he's running again. And I've met him in the past. I'll do some door knocking with him, but I'm also going to talk to some of my fellow vets and just give them some additional information about a different information source that they don't normally hear, and remind them also how Harper treated them when he was in power, because it was horrible. With everybody else, I think when it comes to the election, the main thing is going to be, I think, is the Gen X and millennials are going to be a key, and they're going to have to try to reach out there, because people like myself, senior, a lot of them are sort of set in their ways. by now. So get the message out to the Gen X and millennials. That's
I've been doing it whenever I go into stores and buy anything, or I see young people. I try to like leave a weird insult towards like, you know, somebody from the oligarchy. So like, for example, I'll be like, oh, I see that you guys are advertising this on Facebook. Well, I shut that down because, you know, Mark Zuckerberg's a little and like, I'll say that just to see their reaction, right? And if they give me a good reaction, I'm like, oh, okay, I can go further. I'm like, all right, well, did you guys see what's happening to Musk? Ha ha ha, it's so funny, right? Something that, again, kind of pokes. And then they're like, yeah, I hate that guy. And it's like, as soon as they give me that that they hate Elon Musk, I'm like, okay, these are people I can talk to now. And then I get serious, and then we actually start talking about it. And then I can be like, so you guys are gonna, you know, make the right choice when it comes to voting here so that we don't end up going down that road. And that's where we can really kind of actually start that conversation. So that's what I've been doing with the younger ones.
With the group that I have to be careful with how I bring things up, but I can see by looking, some people are actually paying attention. And other people are just dug in, and they're, you know, but other people are listening. And because I've mentioned things like reference to the stock market, and now they see it. And I mentioned that 2 weeks ago, and they're seeing it. So they're actually paying attention a little bit. So hopefully it works out. Get somebody just even to think about it. That's all I want.
Yeah. That's why I've been trying different ways. Comedy seems to work. Comedy seems to be like the entry point sometimes where you can test out the waters. So, Zen.
Okay, so I agree with Scott. It's literally just getting it in their heads, right? Getting them to think about it so that when they are online or they are watching the news, they'll be thinking, oh, you know what? Somebody said something about this. I should maybe listen. It's just it is getting in their heads. So my husband and I run an outreach for the unhoused in our area in Ontario, and so we're out in the community quite a bit, at least 3 times a week. And so we're lucky enough that we get to go out and we do get to talk to a lot of our community. And we have been and still will be talking politics when we're out there. Something I will do, though, is I'm going to make some sort of sign or something for our vehicle with smartvoting.ca on it. And I'm going to start trying to push that out a bit more. When we go into the community centers and the churches, you know, I'll bring that up. I think also just on here, online itself, I've been with a lot of my my core group. We've been, you know, going into lives where there are people on the right who are kind of conflicted, and so we have discussions with them. And like we said, it's getting it in their heads, right? So, you know, if they, you know, were full supporters of PP until Trump came in and they started to see it in a different light. So, you know, we start talking. It's a bit easier now to talk about it rather than, you know, beforehand when it was all convoy and, you know. So the discussions are getting better, I guess. And I'm feeling like there's a lot of people that are like, you know what, at least I can think about it now. I've heard some of what you're saying, and, you know, I've heard what some of my friends have said. So yeah, it's literally just getting it in their heads.
Agreed. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, it's we just got to make them think. I've seen a lot of people change their minds once they were actually introduced to new information. It's getting them to that new piece of information that's sometimes the hardest part. So we've got about 15 minutes left of the show. Miss Radical, do you have any other topic to introduce before we end the show, or do you want to just go through the list one more time of everybody that's on the panel and let them say their kind of message to the world before we sign off?
I think Hmm. I think maybe just going through the panel one more time and kind of just sharing what's on your mind and your message to the world for tonight. Yeah, I like that.
Okay. So
So is it my turn? No.
yeah, I was gonna say it is
Okay.
actually your turn.
Okay.
I'm just trying to figure out. I wanted to put the 2-minute timer on everybody.
Oh.
I want to play around with it, see if I can do it right.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm
Bring
trying.
it.
Countdown for all. Do we want to give everybody 3 minutes or 2 minutes to chat?
I don't know. Try 2 minutes. 2 minutes is a long time.
You'd think so. Okay, so let's go for 2 minutes. Let's see how this works. Okay, so everybody's got that. Let's see how we make one person. See, that's countdown for all, but it's not taking us through each one. That's what I wanted it to do. So now I'm not 100% sure I'm doing this right.
Trying the studio, right? Is it studio you're trying?
No, this is just on your regular. Let's see, if I make you big,
Oh,
it
I'm
doesn't
big.
give you. Yeah, but it doesn't give you the time. So maybe it starts once the countdown for all. I don't know anymore.
Maybe.
I tried. It didn't work.
You did a good job.
We'll see.
Thanks.
We'll see what happens when it gets all the way down to 1, and if all of a sudden
Should we
one of you
wait?
is up in the box speaking, then it'll. But if not, then I'll just go through each person one by one,
Okay.
make them a big box, and then count down. But let's
Okay.
wait another 50 seconds to see what happens here. If it'll go through, if it'll just switch, or if it'll turn itself off.
I think it's a good idea.
We're learning,
Should
guys,
say
as a
couple.
community. We're learning as a community tonight. Oh man, we've had a couple of conservatives in tonight's show in the messages. And I knew this. I knew the second I heard Trump say that, I was like, oh, he's doing it to create conservative propaganda. Awesome. And now we've been seeing it for like the last 48 hours straight. It's so predictable. It's sad. All right. I think we're doing it.
I think we're good. So you want me
Is
to
it
start?
starting?
It said
Yeah, but
Mrs.
is it?
Radical Countdown, but I can't see anything.
Okay, well, I'll get you in the big box.
Okay. Oh, here I am. Okay, so I'm super stoked. We've got an election and we've got to pay attention. This is the time. This is the moment. Everybody has to be laser sharp. So pay attention. I think Trump's going to be playing a lot of mind games in the next couple months or the next month, even this week. So don't lose sight of what's important. They're going to be, it's all smoke and mirrors, and then it's going to be opposites, and you're really not going to be able to trust anything that's coming out of their mouth. So you're going to have to stay focused on that Shop Canada piece the best you can. I was talking to Frontline today, and she was like, I don't like going to, what was it, A&W? But I'm going A&W because it's Canadian. So, and I'm noticing the difference. I'm going to places. I walked into Walmart and it was dead last night, or it was uneventful last night. There was nothing going on. You could shoot a cannon through that place. That's how we want to see it all the time. So keep working on all of those little pieces. Love everything that the humans of the world are doing. when they're working towards Elon Musk. That's fabulous. Keep doing the good work. It's working. Um, I think that's really all I have to say. Like, and thanks for coming to Beaver Politics. And thanks everyone for coming out and putting in this hard work because it's not easy work, these conversations. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. First, I just want to say thanks for letting me come on. It's been greatly appreciated. And one last thing I want to say is that I think the aspect of Trump getting rid of the Department of Education in the United States is something that's going to have a generational impact that is not going to be able to be reversed easily. And it's going to be highly disastrous. And if Pierre gets elected here in Canada, it's something that I could see definitely happening here as well. So yeah, just make sure you're able to teach people that just because you have a slight difference in opinion doesn't mean that you can't grow to learn and to teach them that yeah, the future can definitely be a beautiful thing if you see it in the right aspect, right? If you see it, in an open mindset, it could really be, an amazing thing. So yeah, just make sure you get out there and you teach people that hey, just because you were wrong once doesn't mean you had to be wrong forever, right? So just always get out there and educate as much as possible.
Thank
That's all I
you.
want is to educate people, to teach people that, yeah, the future can be a beautiful thing if we just learn how to grasp it in the right way.
Thank you. I
Thank you for having
appreciate
me
you
on.
coming up.
Thank
Always.
you.
Uh,
Squishy.
so I can't say what I want to say because it's not TikTok friendly. Um, I am very against PP and the oligarchy and all that good confusion. All I want to say is let's vote properly. Strategic voting is probably not the best voting, but it's the only vote we'll have to keep us from ending up like the states. And yeah, um, if you want to see some videos I have on immigration, I've done a few pieces on it. I'm not 100% well versed, but I can point you in the direction that you guys need to go to get to the right information. So just let me know. And let's vote so we can keep Timu Trump out of office because if we don't, we're all going to make back out bags and it's not going to be good. So thank you for having me. I appreciate you and I love you all. Hydrate and take your medication. You need something.
Thank you. Joe. Joe, you there, Joe?
Why did it not? I thought it would automatically turn it off for me. That's my fault. My apologies. All right, so I think everybody's got a pretty good plan in regards to, or concepts of a plan in regards to how they're going to be working for the betterment in regards to the election. But so I'm not going to talk too much about that. The only thing I want to remind people if they have the capacity, and if they have people, like we saw with the rollbacks of LGBTQ, now we're seeing the rollbacks in regards to rights for BIPOCs and pretty much non-YT people. And especially with this particular article, the person that sent it to me, she felt a very big kick in the gut. So my only other request I ask is if you guys have anybody in the US that's in any BIPOC community, you may also want to do the same thing in regards to reaching out and just making sure, see if they're okay. And let them know that, not everybody agrees with this. And they're not going to be alone. And that's it.
Thank you, Joe. Sasquatch, you're next.
I just want to agree with Joe and, beyond being vocal and, standing up for what we want, it's important that we put people first because that's why we're all leftists in the first place, is because we care about human beings and rights. And, there are a lot of people in the States that must be absolutely terrified. And like we were just talking about how, refugee status is not an easy path for them to come to Canada. And I see people that are trans and queer and BIPOC, and people want to come to Canada. And you know what? Maybe we can make that process easier in the future, but we need to give them an environment to come to. And we need all the people here that are marginalized to have a safe environment too. Like, it's insane that I've always wondered, how is it possible that our government just doesn't write all human rights into legislation and lock it in forever and make it completely unchangeable? Like, am I like, no one else has thought of this? Like, I'm just a dumb loader operator, and I'm like, can we not just lock that in permanently to law and never have it change? It's very sad that that's being used as a political tool. People's rights, their safety, their lives, everything, their clean drinking water, their families going missing. It's insane that such a basic safety is being politicized. Is pretty disgusting, and we need to lock down people's safety first. That's the most important thing. And then after that, we all got to be able to afford to live. After that, we all need to get our team strong and get us all unified and get us all on track to tackle the powers that be, because we're all going to have to be able to afford to live after this. So I'm hoping Carney does some good and continues on Trudeau's trajectory for helping Indigenous nations take off water boil advisories. And I'm just really hoping that we see, some good economic growth, but also making sure we don't forget everything else while this, bombardment on the economy is taking place too, because these other things matter. They're super important. So I'll leave on that and let the next person go.
All right, thank you. Tiffany, you're next.
Hey. So yeah, I think I really just hope everybody focuses on kind of just educating themselves. I'm going to focus a lot on teaching and then getting out there and talking to people on behalf of the candidate, like the party, the candidate that I choose. But I think it's really important that everybody educate themselves on the platforms that each of these parties are running on, and find the party that's platform most aligned with your values. And when you are looking, don't think so myopically about just, well, what's going to lower grocery prices or what's going to lower my taxes, because you have to look at the fact of what other things are you going to be giving up instead of those things. Because I think a lot of people didn't realize that choosing to get cheaper eggs, they were choosing to ensure other people's rights were going to be taken away, and in some cases people's lives. And so this is one of those things, you really have to look at morality when you're looking at these platforms, because we are unfortunately in that type of situation with this election. So just make sure whatever you do, get out and vote. That being the most important thing. If I leave anybody with a message, do not stay home, get out and vote. If you have to pre-book off the date for work today, do it as soon as it's announced. But get out and vote.
Thank you, Tiffany. And I just want to address one quick thing before we move over to the next person. Just for the person that said that Carney is just copying PP's platform, that was only the whole carbon tax thing on consumers. And apparently that's not even PP's platform anymore, guys, because he wants to cut the industrial carbon tax as well, which would actually hurt our economy. Everything else about their policies are completely different, if you've actually done any of your own research to look into it. But there's something called the Conservative Party Declaration that's been online since 2023, and you can find it on the Conservative Party website. Download that, start reading it, start understanding it. Look at what PP's been saying, especially when it comes to trade and who he wants to trade with. And then look at Carney's policy. Read his book called Values. Look at what he said about how he wants to go on with our trade, why he went to Europe, why he met with Macron and Starmer. So, just saying, they have very, very, very different policies. Vastly different. Scott, your turn.
Hi. Just want to go over a couple things. we've got to understand the perception that I have with the people that are in my circle is they don't understand how much the government interacts with us already. And they don't want that, but they don't understand what it is they provide for us, whether it's provincial, whether it's federal. And it's hard to show them where they can just find the basic information. They'd rather just listen to the clickbait stuff. And for me, I just get frustrated with this whole stuff. And I'm just getting to the point where I'd rather not go to these places where these people are. But on a personal note, I need it. But at the same time, it's hard. Because the disinformation that's out there, it's just, I don't understand. It's scary. And they only hear parts of stories. You can put it out there and they just don't hear it.
That's why I think, though, that we do need to respond to it. You're very welcome. Thank you. I do think, though, that's why we need to respond to it, right? Because as this disinformation was being pushed onto the public so hard over the last couple of years, a lot of us just got so sick and tired of having to constantly explain and describe and, show them the diagram, point them to the research. We got so sick and tired of that we stopped doing it. But us not doing it creates a bigger problem. So every time I see it, I like to shut it down, especially when it's completely based in falsehoods, right? We can't give it air. We can't give it space. We've given it so much space. That's why we are where we are. So when we hear this kind of stuff, it's our civic responsibility to correct. That's my own opinion on that. Everybody can choose to have their own, but I wanted to put that out there. Zen, you are next.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say how freaking proud I am to be Canadian and how proud I am of our country. Seeing people come together is just, it's such a wonderful feeling. I would like to point out a couple things. When you are listening to other people talk, or if you are seeing posts or you're reading something, always consider the source. Always use critical thinking. And always remember that there is so much, not just misinformation, but AI stuff out there. There is so much stuff out there that is just blowing our minds away. This is a whole new world. Also, remember, we've gone through a pandemic, and now we're going through this, and we are strong. We are very strong, but we also need to stop and breathe. Remember to take those breaks. Remember to sit with your loved ones, make memories. Remember what's important, because that's what makes us Canadian. And as the last thing, elbows up.
Thank you.
I'm going to do the catapult so bad. I'm doing it.
You want to what?
I'm getting them on the catapult. I'm with Joe. We're not being nice anymore.
Told you.
I don't know what I heard. I didn't hear that right.
I said I'm with
There's
Joe
interest in
on
the
the catapult.
catapult.
The catapult.
Oh, gotcha.
We're going that route now. It's on.
All right. Well, everybody's opinion on this. Everybody's opinion on this panel is their own personal opinion. Just wanted to make that public service announcement. I want to thank all of you guys for sharing. Thank you for everything you do. Every little part matters. And just keep educating. For the love of God, stop believing everything you see on your X feed. or your Facebook feed. At least if something feels fishy, I don't know, go do some research. Try to figure it out. Just give it a little try. That would be great. Yeah. I guess that's all I wanted to say something. I know I did, but I got so lost in each and every one of our little conversations that it's gone. Yes, for anybody in the chat that's complaining that they got muted, we're Beaver Politics. We've got like over 20 mods. And we give them the rights to silence anyone that they feel is causing any harm in the comments. So I don't know why you got silenced, but one of our mods did it, so sorry.
I can speak up to one person I silenced.
There you go. See, I didn't even know who did it.
Yeah. If I muted you, you'd probably know it. Yeah, you can ask me about it.
I did.
Yeah, all I'm saying is like, oh yeah, exactly. So all I'm saying is like we got a lot of mods, and I'm not about to take any of their rights away, because this is our platform and we choose who's here, we choose who has a voice, we choose how we run our platforms. It's the same way that you get to choose how you run your platforms. Quite basic. All right. Yeah, we were having a friendly conversation, my dude. So it is what it is. I mean, if you want to call us fascists, cool. Like, most people here are smart enough to know the truth. We're not too worried about it. Okay, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your evening. For everybody who's tuning in, we do these shows on Beaver Politics every single evening. Every single evening we have a different host. However, tomorrow you're still going to get me. Sorry, that's just going to happen for now. Until we figure out who's going or how we're going to be ending up doing our Friday nights. But tomorrow's a debate night. So for all of you guys that are in the comments that are like, oh, I get silenced here because I have a different point of view, come on to my live tomorrow. Let's have a little chit chat. It'll be fun. Okay. And with that said, if you want to figure out what our shows are, go to our profile. You'll be able to see in the pinned videos a list of our shows. And yeah, we'll see you sometime this coming week. See you tomorrow. See you on the weekend. But we'll be here.
Peace and
Toodles.
Bye.
Later.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.